Hey friends, good evening. We meet again. Good evening, everyone. Today's story is a story from Shandong. The brother who gave us this story specifically told me something. He said if we must be particular about the source, then I can only tell you, this is a rumor from my hometown, from my own village. The person telling the story today is like a big brother. His name is Riching Yang Yu. His name is too long, so from now on, well, call him Liang Yu. Liang Yu is from Shandong. The story takes place in Shandong. But the story he told, he said it happened in the countryside, because he said his father was around 10 years old when he came to the city with his grandfather, so their family settled in the city. But his father and grandfather were really nostalgic about the time in their hometown. They missed it a lot. So even though he wasn't born in the countryside, he basically had to go back every couple of years. Ever since he was a kid, he has a very deep impression of his hometown. But he said, ever since I can remember, every time I go back to our village, I'd meet a weird person. This weird person is a villager. You'd say, he's mentally ill? No, he isn't. He speaks normally. You can have a normal conversation. But his outfit is quite strange. It's like he's stuck in the 70 seconds or 80 seconds. And it's not the nerdy outfits from the 70 seconds or 80 seconds. It's pretty fashionable. And he wears this Meiwa brand tracksuit, that kind of outfit. And his hair, too. It's long in the back and short on the sides. That kind of hairstyle that was popular in the 70 seconds and 80 seconds, for those who weren't well off. That kind of fashionable hairstyle. But when I was a kid, I saw this strange person. I asked my parents what he did. My parents never properly explained it to me. But later, when I grew up, I went back to my hometown. I asked my grandpa, "Grandpa, what does that person do? Why does he seem a little mentally ill?" My grandpa was pretty straightforward. He told me, "Oh, this guy's no good. Don't mess with him. He's a little mentally ill. But he has a story. Wait for later, after we finish eating. He'll tell you when no one's around." After my grandpa said that, I was intrigued. I kept pestering my grandpa that day, insisting he tell the story. And after I heard it, I was blown away. Oh my God, no wonder that guy looked so crazy. It turned out had been through something so strange. The three men were said to be older than my dad, about 3 or 4 years older. They were from the same generation, but my dad had left the countryside when he was little. He left quite early, so he didn't know them well. And the real story about this man starts when he was 23 or 24. He said, when he was 23 or 24, he got married. He married a woman who lived far away from our village. After they got married, they lived quite well, but they never had a child. But his wife was very pretty. She was so sensible, and he loved her so much. He wasn't worried about not having a child. The two of them just lived their lives every day. But one evening, this man was very devoted to his family. He cooked a big meal and ate with his wife. He didn't leave until about 8 or 9 p.m. Why did he go out? A friend asked him to go play cards back in those days. This happened in the 80 seconds. They played cards for fun, not for money. It was pure entertainment, so his wife didn't mind. She was quite supportive. She let him go. Nothing unusual happened before he left. He just left openly. But he got a bit carried away with the game. He looked up at the clock and realized had been playing outside until after 2 a.m. At 2 a.m., he checked the time and realized, oh no, it's past 2 a.m. His wife hadn't come to look for him. He felt a bit bad about it. He hadn't been home for a while, right? Episode 2, Summertime. So this guy immediately put down his cards He said he wasn't playing anymore. He had to go home. Episode 2. Summertime. Everyone started teasing him, saying he was scared of his wife. But he didn't care. He ended up leaving around 2:30 a.m. Episode 2. Summertime. But after he left. Episode 2. Summertime. After walking for maybe 3 to 5 minutes, as he was walking down the village road, he saw 2 people walking toward him in the distance. The shorter of the 2 seemed to be an old woman. The taller one was also a woman. The old woman was wearing dark clothes. The other woman was wearing white. But from a distance, he saw that these 2 people were, and the younger one's face was. Who is that? Because in the village, when you see someone, everyone thinks this way. You know everyone. But the thing is, it was past 2 a.m. What were these 2 women doing? He didn't think too much about it. He didn't feel any fear or anything. There was nothing to be afraid of in the village, so he just kept walking towards them. When he was about 10 meters away from them, he could see them clearly. And when he looked, he saw, oh my God, it's his wife. His wife was with an entrole, old lady he didn't even know. His wife was even helping her at the time. But the old lady had her head down, a little hunched over. He couldn't see her face, but he could see the top of her head. But he could clearly see his wife's face. At this point, he was quite far from his wife. So he yelled, "Hey, where are you going? Who is that?" But after his wife heard him, she looked at him from a distance, but she didn't talk to him. But as soon as he said that, the old lady stopped for a moment. But after the old lady heard him and stopped, she pulled his wife and walked to the left side of the road, as if she wanted to avoid him. Since it's his wife, wouldn't you go after them? Hey, where are you going? Who are you with? Where are you going? You definitely ask in the middle of the night. So he chased after them like that. But after chasing them for a few steps, those 2 were walking very fast. He felt something was wrong. Why are they walking so fast? Then he got a little angry. He said from behind, honestly, he said some swear words, but they weren't that bad. Like, slow down. What's going on? What's up? He wanted to stop his wife and the old lady. But as soon as he yelled that, his wife didn't turn her head, and she kept walking forward. But from behind, a hand reached out from behind his wife and made a gesture, meaning, don't say anything. Go. Go. If this was during the day, he might not say anything. Wife, where are you going with an old lady? He shouldn't interfere, right, in woman's business. But it was past 2 a.m., so a gesture wouldn't work. The guy kept chasing them. He probably ran for about 3 steps. The old lady suddenly turned her head. His wife didn't turn her head. Only the old lady turned her head. But when the old lady turned her head, she had a pair of green eyes. The old lady's eyes were like 2 big light bulbs in her eye sockets. They looked like they were bulging out. They glowed with a very bright green light. The face was so illuminated that you couldn't see any other features. You could only see her 2 big green eyeballs. And when the old lady glared at him, not only were her eyes green, her expression was also very fierce, as if she wanted to eat him. It scared him so much, he almost fell down. Whoa, whoa. At this point, he was at a loss. He didn't know what to do. He didn't dare to go forward anymore. So he took 2 or 3 steps back, staring. At this point, his wife was still facing away from him. She didn't turn around to talk to him. Jianxie, go home. Quickly, go home. Leave me alone. The man heard that it was indeed his wife. There was an old woman next to her. He was scared. He had to muster the courage to ask, No. Go home. What are you doing out so late? As soon as he finished asking, the old woman glared at him again. He couldn't take it anymore. He was scared, plus his wife kept telling him to go home. Go home. He really couldn't bear it anymore. He turned around and left. As he walked, he kept looking back at his wife, who was being hugged by the old woman and led out of the village. But, my friends, do you think he'd give up? He definitely wouldn't. He ran home but didn't go inside. He started yelling from outside the door. Who was he yelling at? The neighbors. And after only a few shouts, people came out. After they came out, he said, all worked up, something's wrong. My wife was taken by a ghost. I went to the edge of the village. Everyone's sleepy. What? What did you say? Taken by what? Then he quickly told them what had just happened. When everyone heard this, they hadn't seen the old woman. So what was she like? Nor did he say anything about it. Too scared, he followed them out of the village to look for them. But they looked all along the edge of the village for over an hour, but they didn't see anyone. Because they were so tired from looking, one of the people said, "Hey, didn't you go home and check? Maybe you saw the wrong person. I just realized I've been walking dumbly with you for almost 40 minutes. You should go home and check." As soon as this person said that, the rest of the people were probably tired too, so they all thought this person was right and persuaded him to go home. But guess what happened? After he got home, sure enough, his wife hadn't gone anywhere. She was at home, but his wife was already lying on the bed, and her whole body was cold. For some reason, the person had died. This matter became a huge deal, and the villagers had a lot to say. She was taken away by a ghost. That old woman takes souls, or that the old woman was a nearby lonely ghost who had taken a fancy to his wife. Some people even said the old woman was a mountain spirit who had chosen his wife to be her servant. They made up over 100 stories. I don't think we need to talk about these stories. The main thing we need to talk about is what happened. But after this incident, the man buried his wife and took care of everything. Just a few days later, this man went crazy. Do you think he's completely crazy? No, he isn't. He can talk to people, play cards, and do everything, and he can work. The thing is, you can't talk to him for more than 5 or 6 sentences. If it's more than 5 or 6 sentences, he starts rambling about things with his wife. Like when they got married, what happened on their wedding day, what he was wearing, what clothes he bought for his wife, and all the things they said to each other when they were living together. In other words, he's always stuck in the 2 years after he got married. During this whole process, this man. So you know why our elder brother said, "This man is strange," or why he dresses strangely. It's because he still thinks he's living in the time right after he got married. Our elder brother said, "You can go to our village. This person is 66 or 67 now. But if you talk to him for more than a dozen sentences, he'll still be rambling on about the 80 seconds. And in his words, his wife will always be in her 20 seconds. This is a story of true love. I think it's true love. But back then, technology wasn't advanced, so in the end, nobody knew why his wife died. But I personally think it was a heart attack. Or a stroke or something. Otherwise, a person wouldn't just die out of the blue. However, as for the green-eyed old lady he saw on the road, I dare not explain that. I don't have that ability, and it would be trouble if I said the wrong thing. So, I can only tell you that this is a story. Don't take it too seriously. It's just some village gossip and legends. What exactly happened? None of us can say for sure. Hello, friends. Tonight, we're going to tell a story about a doctor, but this event didn't happen inside a hospital because doctors also have to do field work. For example, ambulance doctors basically shuttle on the road every day. Today's story was provided by a young woman from Hangzhou named Fonger. She said this happened to my mother when she was very young. Fonger's mother, in the late 82nds, around 88, started working at the hospital. When she got to the hospital, my mother was actually just a regular nurse. She didn't do any other work. But later, the hospital strengthened its ambulance fleet. This means that the number of emergency doctors on an ambulance was originally just 4 or 6 people. As a result, a few ambulances were added, so they recruited a few more doctors from the hospital to work on the ambulances. Working on an ambulance back then was a very honorable thing. It still is now. But back then, it was even more in demand. Mama Fenger worked really hard, and in the end, she was actually selected by the hospital. So starting around 1990, her mom worked on an ambulance. But Fenger wasn't born yet. Her mom was still a very young woman. And the next thing we're going to talk about, the accident happened around 1992. Her mom had been working for many years. So one day, it was around 5 a.m. Her mom's entire team was on duty. They were waiting at the hospital to see if anything would happen. Then the phone rang. The call was from their boss, from their dispatch department. They said to get ready quickly. Right now, the 3 ambulances from the unit had to leave right away and head to a highway on the outskirts of the city. And on the phone, the boss also told them, "This is an important person. Something big has happened. You have to give it your all. Get to the scene fast." When Fenger's mom heard that, she got worried. Their whole team, plus the 2 teams next to them, they all looked serious. They quickly packed their bags and the usual first aid equipment. The 3 ambulances drove toward the designated road section. But it was the afternoon rush hour. Even though there weren't many cars then, and traffic wasn't that bad, there were a lot of bicycles on the road. The speed was extremely slow. But all the way there, the radio on the ambulance never stopped. It was all, "Where are you? You need to hurry up. It's really urgent here." But one thing, don't forget, the signal given to all the doctors was that something big had happened on that road. It was definitely a life-threatening situation, but no one knew exactly what happened. Why? Because that era wasn't like now. Now, if something happens, it's on the workgroup chat. Short videos, short messages all get sent, even photos of the scene. You can prepare yourself mentally. But what was there back then? Nothing. Just relying on a radio. And they were rushing so much, so urgently. Who would dare ask on the radio? "Headquarters. Headquarters, what exactly happened? Tell us about it." They'd scold you to death, right? The ambulance drivers could only try their best. The doctors were on edge, waiting to face the task ahead. But after the 3 ambulances had been driving for about 40 minutes, they had just reached the highway section. But after driving for a little while, they had an accident. The accident happened around 6:30 p.m. It was winter at the time. It was getting dark early. After the car got off the highway, we hadn't been driving for long. Mom saw a large group of people walking towards us in the opposite lane of the highway. Mom said there must have been more than 30 people, and all of them were injured. They were very badly hurt. The first 2 were basically covered in blood. The rest also had bloodstains all over their clothes. At that moment, Mom was in the ambulance and was completely stunned After only looking for a moment, Mom said to a director in the ambulance, "Director Zhao, don't you see all the people here?" At the time, the director was looking in the same direction as Mom. After Mom said this, she felt a bit strange, because Director Zhao seemed like he couldn't see anything. But after Mom pointed it out, Director Zhao looked closely out the window. After looking, he looked back at Mom with a curious expression. "What is it? What's wrong?" Mom immediately asked the director in return, "Don't you see all these people? This time, they're all injured." At the same time, while Mom was talking, the ambulance was still driving forward. People were whizzing by Mom. They passed by Mom, and just as she finished speaking, Mom saw a person without legs standing there. That's when Mom realized the seriousness of the situation. So she only said half of her sentence before she yelled out, "Oh, director, look, look, it's them." But this time, the director was terrified, because the director's view out the window was also very clear, but he couldn't see anything. The director was suddenly awkward. He thought Mom must have had a shock. He was looking at her with a puzzled look. But Mom, being young and headstrong, kept trying to get the director to listen. Just then, the walkie-talkie in the car started to buzz. Car 4. Car 4. Have you arrived at the scene? Has Car 4 arrived at the scene? Hurry up. This isn't good. Many people have died here. The walkie-talkie, while asking them if they had arrived, also said something else. The key part was, "Many people have died." At that moment, Mom's heart skipped a beat, because she had just seen people on the side of the road, and they were so badly injured. She wondered what the scene ahead must look like. But just as Mom was getting anxious, the driver pressed the button on the walkie-talkie. He spoke into the walkie-talkie, saying, "We are on our way there. We are rushing there. We'll be there soon. We're driving at full speed." The driver's words were not wrong, but Mom, listening from the back, couldn't handle it, because Mom had just seen that some of the people's injuries were very serious. One of them even had a missing leg. So the young Mom couldn't hold back. From the back, she said to the driver, "No, Dr. Zhao. It's the people we just saw who need help. There's no point in going to the scene now. Save them first." But this driver was different from the director. The director was more reserved. Or maybe the director didn't understand what exactly happened to Mom. But the driver was different. The driver was more direct. After hearing what Mom said, he suddenly spoke to her in a very fierce tone. "Xiaobo, stop it. Calm down. I am driving first. You must have seen things wrong." Mom felt even more confused. "Who saw it wrong? It's right there. Can't you see it?" The atmosphere in the car instantly became tense. It was obviously a bit dramatic, but the car was still speeding forward. And then right at that moment, Mom felt someone poke her back. Mom immediately turned her head. And when she turned around, she saw a slightly older nurse sitting in the back row. She was in her late 30s. She leaned in and whispered in Mom's ear, "Xiaobo, don't talk anymore. There might be something happening, or a major incident. You be quiet. Just do as they say, and rush to the scene." Mom was too young at that moment. She couldn't understand what that meant. She continued to argue with the doctor in the back. The director who was beside her finally realized, or rather, he finally reacted, or maybe he was just playing dumb. but he couldn't stay silent anymore. The director beside her spoke. Everyone, quiet down, quiet down, quiet down. Let the driver focus on driving. The director's words weren't loud, but they were very serious. Mom saw this and quieted down. She stopped being stubborn, but she felt very conflicted. We're doctors. Our job is to save lives. If a lot of people are dead at the scene, why are we going there? Why don't we save the injured people on the road? But she could only keep these thoughts to herself. She couldn't argue anymore. The car then fell into silence. After a short while, the car arrived at the scene. When the car arrived, not far away, Mom finally understood. It was a very serious accident. A bus, which was a huge bus for that era, had a head-on collision with 3 trucks, and one of the 3 trucks was heavily loaded. It hit the bus, knocking it down to the side of the road. You didn't even need to look at the bus. Just on the highway, there were already many people who had been rescued by Good Samaritans, lying on the ground. Even though some were pulled from the car, you could tell from the bloodstains in the distance that they probably didn't make it. I won't go into the details later. It's enough for you to know what happened. That's all. Then, Mom entered a state of frantic work. The whole scene was a mess. The work that day lasted until after 4 a.m. Because with the medical conditions at that time, some injured patients couldn't be moved. They had to be treated on site. So through my mom's 3 hospitals, they worked with 9 ambulances to rescue people. They saved 9 people. But everyone else on the bus was gone. But that day was too exhausting. But my mom wasn't at the scene when it happened. But things will eventually pass. When they got back to the hospital, 2 days later, the more my mom thought about what happened, the more confused she was. So, she carefully asked a few of the older doctors. The doctors have different personalities. Not everyone is like me, who talks about everything. Some doctors don't say anything. But with so many doctors, there were quite a few people in my mom's department. There would definitely be people like me. It turned out there was a doctor at their unit. A male doctor in his 42nd. After hearing what my mom said about that day, he pulled her aside and told her, "Xiao Wu, I understand what you're talking about. Don't keep talking about this at the hospital, and you can't ask the director either. Don't you know? What did you see?" My mom still didn't understand. She said, "I don't get it. I just don't get it. Why didn't those people care about them for 3 days? Which hospital did they end up going to?" This made the doctor very anxious, so anxious he wanted to slap his thigh. "Oh, Xiao Wu, you're really a blockhead. Why are you young people like this? Let me tell you, you saw. Oh, you saw a ghost. Yourself." Okay, my friends, the story is finished. The story and plot are all my own narration. The general flow hasn't changed. It's basically the same. However, I did check online. This story involves a case from back then. You can actually find it online. So I've ignored the time, location, and other messy details. I've ignored them all, because I've always told you all. I am just telling stories. These stories might have some discrepancies, but the events are all fake. Please don't take it to heart after you listen. So this story is purely fictional. Or rather, this whole episode is purely fictional. If there are any similarities, that's on you. That's all for today. So, our story for today ends here. Sometimes I am afraid you might misunderstand me. I can't help it. I am afraid I'll say the wrong thing, and then someone will come back and find me. Hey, isn't that what you were talking about? You still? How could you? That would be a difficult situation, right? There's no need for that. So, we're really finished for today. Finally, let's say our old family saying, recording nearby supernatural events and telling strange tales of the world. Thanks for listening, friends. Tomorrow's show will be even more exciting. Let's go tomorrow night. Anyway, at 6 or 7, I'll keep rambling on for you.